Hello, everybody, and welcome back to a very special Mutant Academy. I'm your host, DJ Woldridge. With me always is Sal. Sal, how you doing?
What up, snickety snickety snore?
Snickety snickety. Is this pattern on my shirt doing weird things on the camera?
Oh no, not
No,
on
okay,
my
good.
end.
Okay, good. Well, hopefully, sometimes you get something with a little bit of lines in it, and the
Oh
camera's
yeah, and it's
like,
the computer does not know what to do with it.
it's like,
Yeah.
whoa, what's happening? So what makes this special? What makes this special is we're taking a little break from the Fox verse to go back in time, all the way back to 1996. Sal, did you see this when it aired?
Oh yeah.
Same. Same.
Oh yeah.
And what I remember is a general sense of like, not that in 1996 I was 10.
Yeah.
So there was not that I was super familiar with Gen X. Like I knew the basics.
Yeah.
I knew
Yeah.
the covers I had seen in the store, right?
Hell yeah.
And so there was a sense of like, this doesn't feel right. This
No.
doesn't seem
No, I very much remember like Wizard hyping it up in some way, or at the very least, like I remember hearing about it without having to have been plugged into television for it,
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
and I remember seeing pictures and being like, "This looks like just the previews images," and I'm like, "That looks real bad,"
It
and
looks
I
not
was not prepared
yes.
for how bad
Yeah.
this was gonna be.
And I will admit there is a certain amount of nostalgia for like back when superhero media was afraid of doing it. And it's
Yeah,
like, oh, I
making it
remember
accurate.
this.
Yeah, they're like, "Oh shit, we can't make it look that comic book accurate. It looks stupid." And listen, like, I remember having an argument with my wife a while back about like comic book superhero costuming in movies, and I'm like, "Why do they always have to have this kind of like pattern? Why do they always need these the ribs?
Yeah.
Why can't it just be the look?" And it's like, this is why. Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because
Yes.
because flat spandex catches light like no other. It doesn't look like the comic books. It may
Nope.
be 100% comic book accurate, and it will not do us any favors. You
Yeah,
have to have something to catch the light.
exactly. And also like whenever I love it whenever like this, some CVR or whatever will be like, this cosplay is better than anything in the movies. And it's like, no, that's just good
No.
cosplay. If you put that in a movie, it would look stupid. But it's good
Yeah.
cosplay.
No, it looks exactly like the comic book,
Yeah.
and that does not necessarily it translates to reality only in as much as you've approximated what the comic book looks like
Mhm.
in real life. But if you were to put, like Oscar Isaac in it,
Yeah.
would it work? And probably not.
Probably
More than
not.
likely not.
Because even if they whiff it,
Right.
like a bunch of like concept artists and people, everybody looked at a bunch of them, and one of them was the comic, and they're like, it don't work, guys. It don't work.
Yeah, we can't do that. I
Yeah.
mean, there's some degree of interpretation. Jubilee, for example, like her costume is a coat. If you
Yes.
put her in the coat, you can make it work. But even Ninja Turtles, one of the, I would say up there, top three most perfect
Yeah.
comic book movie adaptations of all time.
Yeah.
They didn't even put. They gave April O'Neil one yellow raincoat in one scene and threw it
Yes.
away immediately.
Mhm. And they're
Which is
like,
actually kind of prescient. That was very like Marvel Netflix of them to do that.
yes. Yeah. So, wow, I just flashed back to Luke that one, and in that
Oh, the
that was
tiara.
yeah, it was golden because they didn't even need to do that. Luke Cage hasn't worn that in decades, but they're like, "Here you go, kids," and you're like,
Yeah.
"Thank you."
But he will take it off and look at it with utter disdain.
Yeah, which he should.
Yeah,
Let's not
it's
pretend
not.
otherwise. The more egregious one is like, we're gonna give you the classic Daredevil costume, and then realize the helmet looks kind of stupid. So in season 2, we fix the helmet, which means
Right.
we're improving it, and then throw it all away for season 3. And it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah, season 3, I'm like, why are we backtracking? They're like, no, you can see it. It's on the guy who's murdering everyone.
It's on the bad guy. No, this is your shot to update it, maybe streamline it just a bit more.
Yeah,
Put
maybe
the D's on it.
Bullseye would like it to be more comic book accurate.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Anyway, I hopefully at this point I've said what we're talking about. We're talking about the back in 1996 they made a Generation X TV movie pilot. It's a pilot. It's a pilot that they put as a movie. You're like, where can I watch this? YouTube, baby. Nobody's keeping track of this one.
No one wants to own it. It's very much like the Star Wars Holiday Special, which I believe you could also still watch for free without interruption on YouTube. You can watch 2 different versions of this movie on YouTube. One of them has
Sorry,
Yeah.
finish your thought.
Oh, just one of them has like the Fox 5, like check
Yeah.
out the promo nonsense. But
Kind of bummed I missed that. The version I saw, apparently I
had
discovered Eric
cursing in it.
UK because I was like, I'm so sorry. I can guarantee you when I saw this on Fox, the Jubilee did not say that line.
Jubilee's line, I was like, I remember because I saw this years ago.
Yeah.
I watched it with my crew one time. We were doing more commentary stuff, and I was like, "You guys aren't prepared." And we
Yeah.
watched it, and it was like, but then that Jubilee thing came. I'm like, "What's happening?"
Yeah, wait. Did this air on HBO? What are
Like,
we what's
here's
going on?
Here's the thing, folks. Here's a little like history lesson for you guys. For certain niche geek properties, they had like Canadian/European versions of the
Mhm.
shows. For example,
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever watched this show, DJ, but the Highlander series.
No, I've seen clips when it was on like sci-fi.
Right.
Back in the day, sci-fi would run day marathons of the Highlander show.
Exactly. Well, Highlander was a show that is dominated. It's two things you need to know about the Highlander movies. One, there is awesome beheadings in them.
Yeah.
Two, there is one big sex scene in it.
And
Every single one of them. That's like a staple of the franchise.
like, glossy 80s sex scene. Like, what we're talking about. Yeah.
Yep. Usually a saxophone.
Yep.
And the Highlander show was like, right.
Yeah. Yes.
And then USA was like, no.
Mhm.
And so we'd get them in the European broadcast, but then they'd have to cut them down for us American sensibilities. And you'd never know what shows you were watching, and then you get like on like home media,
Yeah.
and suddenly you get an extra tidbit of TNA, and you're
Yeah.
like,
And you're like,
whoa.
was this on before? And I didn't know. That's the broadcast days. What a different time.
Yeah, it was not like, oh, at 2 in the morning they showed, like no, they didn't
Yeah.
do that. It was just no in another country
Yeah.
on those screens they had it. But Generation X, all we could get was just a really messed up, insane line from Jubilee.
Yeah. In countries that weren't founded by Puritans, you got a little different. So anyway, so this is the Generation X TV movie / pilot. Originally aired in 1996. It was directed by Jack Shoulder, who directed Nightmare on Elm Street 2, an episode of Tales from the Crypt, episodes of the Mortal Kombat TV show, Tremors TV show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, hopefully you get an image of what this
that
guy
tracks.
Yeah. I was reading some stuff about it, and they're like, he was like, yeah, I had a previous experience directing comic book stuff with Tales from the Crypt, and I'm like, that's different. That's not the same thing.
That is so on brand for every Hollywood type talking about making comic book movies, where they're like, I love comic books. I read King's Feature Syndicate comic books all the time. Those are comic strips, and you are full of crap. You have no idea what you're talking about. Like,
it's a completely different. That's a different. Anyway,
it
was written by Eric Blankney. I don't know what else he did.
Fake name.
The synopsis on IMDb reads: the new teenage students at a school for mutants, normal-looking humans with fantastic powers, try to stop an evil scientist from controlling the world's dreams. And it's taking everything in my body to not jump ahead and talk about the dreams.
Oh yeah.
Because if it wasn't like. This is definitely, we'll get there. I don't want to jump ahead. So this show has segments. If you're not familiar with our show, it has segments. We start off with The Way of X, which is where we just give a breakdown of the movie we're discussing. And this movie, first off, it opens with the classic, I don't know if the version you had this out, like the classic Marvel paper thing.
Oh no.
Yeah.
We got a Marvel thing like that, which I was like, is that the first time?
Yeah, same. I was like 1990. We had this, and I guess it's like, when did Blade come out? Like 99?
Yeah, 98, 99. Yeah. So
Yeah.
no, we did not like that. That's amazing because it's so great. It might be the best thing about this.
Yes.
Is that Marvel had this like media logo of the page flipping.
Yeah, it is. It can't stress this enough as we talk about it. And as we've mentioned, it's easy to find. I do recommend finding it if you're like an X fan, just as for the artifact nature of it.
Yeah.
4 years from now, the first X-Men movie will come out.
Yeah, that's true.
4 years. And if you'd ask me, if I watched this cold, I was like, yeah. And in 10 years, 4 years. 4 years is the timeline.
Right. 4. I mean, yeah. With movies and TV, like night and day, like all you need is like one strong voice to say, like, I'm not going to make it like crap.
Yeah.
But what was going to be garbage because the New World Pictures logo came up at the beginning. And
Well, and
New
the other
World,
thing, you just brought up a really good point that this is not only an artifact of the X franchise, it's an artifact of what TV used to be.
yes, what
Whereas
TV
now,
used to be. Yeah.
and in some ways, I think maybe we should look at getting back. Like maybe we shouldn't be blowing $25 million.
And maybe, yeah, that's a good
Maybe your
idea.
money, you should spend your money elsewhere. If your episode, and again, I can't stress this enough, I liked She-Hulk quite a bit.
Yeah,
But
me
if
too.
episodes of She-Hulk, your lawyer sitcom, your workplace sitcom,
Yeah.
costs more than episodes of the final season of Game of Thrones, you're doing money wrong. You're doing it
Effed
wrong.
up. Yeah, you don't know your business
Yeah.
anymore. Because I'm sure that like one episode of She-Hulk could have paid the salaries of everyone and then some on the budget for Generation X.
For Generation X. Yeah, because I think it had an episode of it had a budget of like $4 million or something. But anyway.
Yeah.
So we open after the Marvel little ticker tape. We open with the definition of mutation, which is the little dictionary definition, and then an extra one. It's like, an illegal status in the United States. And whenever this pilot leans into the X-Men shit,
Yeah.
it's like there's promise here.
Absolutely.
Because also, truth be told, 9 times out of 10, pilots are kind of trash.
Yeah.
If your show's best episode is its pilot, oops.
Yeah, there's a reason why everyone's like the first episode you ever saw of Firefly was the train job.
Yeah. Yeah. So elements like this is like, okay, mutants illegal status, and then we're introduced to a Mr. Matt Frewer,
which is like if you're making a sci-fi adjacent property.
Yes.
In 1996, Matt Frewer will not be far behind. Max Headroom will be in your product.
You've got to cast Max Headroom if you can. And listen, man,
if you're lucky, you get Max Headroom because he is a joy. He's a treasure. He is also like he's the I fear that Frewer is at this point 1996. He's like, so I am literally neck deep in Jim Carrey eating my lunch,
dude. I really feel like I can transport myself to the boardroom meeting.
Yes,
where they're like, okay, we want X-Men,
right?
But we don't want to necessarily damage. We're doing something new, live action TV. We don't necessarily we don't want Wolverine, because what if we fuck up Wolverine and then we poison the well?
Yes.
Okay. Fortunately, it's X-Men in the 90s. There's a billion titles to pull.
I have a lot of options. The cheapest one is arguably not Generation X, but
you
know what?
90210, we're a year out from Buffy. Like,
teens, we gotta get them.
Teens, they love it. We cast a bunch of 30-year-olds as teens. People will eat that shit up.
100%.
Okay. But also, have you seen this little movie called Batman Forever?
Right. Well, that's like the template now, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's so funny how Batman 89 comes on the scene. They're like, oh, the superhero movie genre is here and we are ready. We got a template. Let's do it. Let's make a show. The Flash. It's literally just Batman 89, but in the Flash. Let's go. Oh, that tanked and we spent how much on just the costume alone? Yeah, we're going Joel Schumacher with this bitch. Like,
yeah. Well, and it's important to stress that for as much as now we like to trash on Batman Forever, it did well.
Yes.
It made money because there was a whole generation of kids. The impression was there was a generation of kids scared by Batman Returns.
Yep.
That ate up Batman Forever.
100%.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, like this was the palate cleanser that they needed.
Yeah.
It was. I remember as a kid in the theater being disappointed by Batman Forever.
That was me for Batman and Robin.
Batman and Robin, I didn't even see.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not.
Good call. But yeah, for me, I was at the right age. Batman Forever was like, jokes about Batman 66. Robin's in here. I love it.
I did get I was like, oh, I like the reference to Batman 66, but I liked it in that regard where it's like Holy Roasted Metal Batman. That's the end of it.
Yeah.
Get out.
Yeah. So, and you can just feel this thing bending, like not understanding that like the offer of mutants is a big enough offer. You don't need the dreamscape. But you don't I don't know what failed pilot you tried to loop into this one.
Right. Yeah, this is absolutely them repurposing some other crap. I mean, the villain's lair, where it's
Mhm.
literally just a dentist's office in 1996, like
Yes.
in my studio
Yeah.
outside in the lobby,
Yeah.
we could have shot the pilot there
Yeah.
because it has that like ice cube glass wall.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that's the greatest architecture 1991 has to offer.
Because I think there's a version. I think there's a version of this. I think. Listen, I can't be mad at Matt Frewer ever.
No,
He's the man's
he's
a treasure.
doing what they paid him to do. He
Yeah.
is there to
Yeah.
work.
He's doing what they're asking. He's going 110%. Does it work? I can't tell you that. I wish I could tell you it
It
works.
does not.
I can't. I can't say that. But
He
I will
is
never
trying to be the mask, and it is not working.
I cannot be mad at Matt Frewer. But there is a version of this as opposed to Dream Guy or whatever they're doing.
Yeah.
It's like just make him arcade. Just have him be a human that wants to fuck with mutants. Cast him as arcade, and now we're cooking.
Yes, now you get some like high marks from the audience. You screen this shit at Comic-Con, you get
Yes.
standing ovation.
There's not a single person in the production team that even knows what Comic-Con is in 1996.
No.
I guarantee you. I
Yeah.
guarantee
No, I think they
you.
do. Well, here's why. Here's why I say that. Because Mallrats comes
All
out
right.
in 1990, I think 96.
Is Mallrats
And
96?
I think Mallrats either 95 or 96. Because
Yeah.
I know Clerks is 94, so it's got to be 96. And they screened Mallrats at Comic-Con.
Yeah.
And based on the screening at Mallrats, they upped the budget for the marketing for Mallrats. And I believe that producer Jim Jack said that it was going to be bigger than E.T. And the movie couldn't crack $1 million.
Yeah, don't say that. Don't set that bar for yourself. Are you
I know, but
insane?
Comic-Con did it. Like, where it's like, yeah, if you want to, 1996, a movie about nerds who read comic books,
Yeah.
like, yeah, show it at Comic-Con.
Yes, 100%. Unless you might then you might get a false positive and think that it's going to be bigger than ET.
That's exactly the problem. And then they were like, oh, whoops. Turns out Comic-Con is like just a distillation of only the people who would go see this movie all in the same place at the same time.
Everybody you wanted to see this movie already saw it at Comic-Con.
Yeah, they also have for free at Comic-Con. Generation X, though, that's
Yeah.
a movie you're like, you got to screen it at Comic-Con.
Exactly.
Just and then get comment cards and have everybody go, it sucks.
Yeah. So we're in what we will learn as a flashback an indeterminate amount of years before the actual pilot starts. Matt Frewer is just doing some light brain surgery on some mutant kid. And everybody, including Emma Frost, who is played by Finola Hughes, comes in and is like, hey, stop doing brain surgery on this kid. And the feds come in and arrest the kid. They're like, he's an unregistered mutant. We're sending him to a camp. And Matt Frewer, I did not put his name down. He's Matt Frewer in my notes. That is who he is.
Is occasionally Max Headroom is what I'll call him. But
Max, you know what? That's better. We're going to call him Max Headroom for the duration of this episode.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like we should at least know, like Russell Tresh is
Russell
the character
Tresh.
name. A name I'll never remember.
Yes. And I will say, initially in my notes, I misspelled it as Russell Trash. And I was like, well,
that
Freudian slip.
Yeah.
So they come in and he just Max Headroom just loses his job. And Emma Frost is really pissy about it. And then she does some stuff like she makes it all windy in the office, where if you weren't really familiar with Emma Frost in 1996, you're like, wait, is she Storm? Is she the Storm powers?
Yeah, I should say I was very excited when I first saw it. You know, I was like, okay, they used the Generation X logo from the comic book.
Yep.
And Emma Frost looks pretty much like Emma Frost.
Yeah. Also, caveat being low bar.
Very.
Is Finola Hughes the best live action Emma Frost?
I don't know. I mean, like, she's certainly the most accurate to the period for Emma Frost, but that's not saying much. I did like the Emma Frost from First Class. I just wish she had anything to do.
Yeah. It's definitely different eras, literally and figuratively, with those two. But I actually think and we're going to get to Jeremy Ratchford as Banshee, Sean Cassidy. And I actually think both of them work pretty well.
They do. And they're using the comic book as like a great template. Like, this is what the comic book kind of... It's like, if you use the comic book as a baseline, I see where they got this from. It's not like when you're watching other like 1990s adaptations of comic book media and you're like, I don't know where you started with this.
Yeah.
But Dreamscape,
I do kind of want to know. Like, again, just being vaguely familiar with Generation X as a kid, what was the conversation that, like, okay, we're going to do a new version of New Mutants, and the teachers are going to be Banshee and Emma Frost?
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
Right, I don't know what the motivation there was. I honestly, the best version of Banshee is the Generation X one, where he's got the 5 o'clock shadow.
Yeah.
He's kind of smoking hot, and
Yeah.
he's like a headmaster. Like, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, because no offense to Banshee, watching this, you feel like this is the most I've ever cared about Banshee.
100%.
Yeah.
No, yeah, and occasionally I remember watching this and going like, I kind of wish we just cut back to the adults.
Yep. With their like flirtation, the little like, hey,
Hey, maybe
we
we're
fuck
doing
each other.
something. Big time.
We're not in a relationship, but we definitely fuck.
Yeah, I also there's a great moment where like all I could think of was Deadpool, where he's like, "Boy, it's a big house. You'd think there'd be more X-Men in it, but I guess the studio
Yep.
couldn't afford them."
We've got 5 students for this mansion. And do I have a little factoids about the mansion? Of course I do. You're like, haven't I
Good.
seen this mansion and everything? Yes, you have.
Smart move, by the way. I'm like amazed about this, but
Yes.
we'll save it for later.
So then we meet Angelo, who will go by the codename Skin literally within the last 5 minutes. People will start referring to him as Skin just out of nowhere. Like, hey, you know Skin.
Well, I have Skin, but I don't know him.
And he's packing up to go to the Xavier School. At this point, I'm a little confused about. So is Angelo registered? Is there a reason the feds aren't coming and scooping his ass up? I'm unsure.
Yeah, I don't know.
And so he's leaving, and what a girl we will find out is his sister. Like as he's driving away, holds onto his arm, and it's like sadistically, like, yeah, stretch, boys, stretch. Because it's like dragging behind the truck as he's like screaming, is like, let go, like this hurts, like,
yeah,
she's like, yeah,
right. She's like, I want you to remember not to come back here.
Exactly. I want to remember why you left.
This is what we'll do to you. Stretch you.
So back to Max Headroom. We find out he's working again. It's the plot of Batman Forever. He's working on some sort of dream machine for an ad company.
Dude, yeah, this is absolutely just the concept from I remember now that you mention it, there is like a big time like, oh, you just saw the first 10 minutes of Batman Forever and went that.
and they told Matt Frewer, Jim Carrey. Go.
Yeah. I don't know if they told him be Jim Carrey or if he was like, I was Jim Carrey before Jim Carrey. I'll out Jim Carrey in this show. Movie.
If anybody also, like, we've mentioned Max Headroom, we've mentioned obviously he's in this. He's also in Orphan Black, and he's really good in that. He also has an incredibly understated performance in the first episode of The Nick, which if nobody's ever seen The Nick, I believe it's still on Max. I don't know if Zaslav like fucking cut that shit. But the 2 seasons of The Nick is some of the best TV. Each episode is directed by Steven Soderbergh. It's some of the best TV ever.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, and he's in that. And if you're used to like this Matt Frewer, seeing him in The Nick, it's like, oh my god.
Yeah, definitely. No, I know him as like Lawnmower Man.
Yep.
Like the annoying dad in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Yep.
And of course he's the time traveler in one amazing episode of TNG.
Yeah.
I believe he's in every iteration of Star Trek. Except for
how could he not be? Again,
right.
Max Headroom. And if you've never heard of Max Headroom, every sci-fi nerd in the 90s making shows like TNG knew about Max Headroom.
It's so frustrating. I can't like I don't think I've ever even actually seen a full episode of Max Headroom. But I know him as Max Headroom primarily.
And because the Max Headroom aesthetic was so ubiquitous in the vibe, like, and also not just that, directors from that went on to do the Mario Brothers movie. And and I know people fucking hate the Mario Brothers movie, and I understand it's not a faithful adaptation. But as a kid, that movie was so fucking cool to me, and part of it was the Max Headroom aesthetic. That like dystopia was fucking cool. Like it was my first exposure to anything cyberpunky, Blade Runner-esque, and so it was like, what is this?
Dude, that is exactly
gross. What
a great idea is like your kid's like, I've heard of Blade Runner, I want to watch it. It's like, okay, son, you're 9.
Yeah.
Watch the Super Mario Brothers movie.
Yeah. And that's been my argument, especially since the new one came out. It's like, I get it. If you're a Mario fan and you want something that looks like Mario Brothers, the Universal movie, I would argue is not a good movie, but it looks like the games.
Yes.
If you want Blade Runner for kids, the original Super Mario Brothers movie is that. Like, and still, and like the cat. Anyway, whatever. This is not the Mario Brothers cast. Point is, Max Headroom had a bigger impact. Even if you've never heard of it, I can tell you it had an impact on shit. If you like this show, it's had an impact on things you like.
I think King Koopa, like Dennis Hopper's King Koopa, looks like Max Headroom.
Yeah,
in that movie, like
So,
for some reason.
again, you can't go wrong with Dennis Hopper as a villain ever.
That's true.
Ever.
Yeah.
Anyway, so this movie, by the way, is brought to you by Virtual Fighter. Not only does Max Headroom mention Virtual Fighter in there, he's basically doing dream advertising. Which, by the way, if a corporation could do it, they absolutely would do it. Where they're just implanting subliminal messages in your dreams. Mm-hmm. He mentions Virtual Fighter, then we cut to an arcade where Jubilee's playing Virtual Fighter.
Yes. And by the way, eagle-eyed fans out there, there is an X-Men arcade game in there, which just begs the question, what the hell?
Yeah, what is that cute?
The X-Men license themselves? I appreciate the Easter egg, but I'm kind of like, what's in universe? What is that supposed to mean?
I mean, you get a little bit. I think they do explain it in like Logan. Like, wait, they have. I kind of actively hate it when when Smallville was like, there's actually a superhero that Clark like as a kid from the comics. It's like, what the fuck does that mean? Like, your culture would be different. Like that.
Oh,
that's
I know.
one of the things, the many things that Alan Moore got right in Watchmen, which is like, well, yeah, if there's actually superheroes around, superhero comics wouldn't be the thing.
Yeah, it would be pirates or something like that. Yeah, no, that's my Man of Steel complaint. Like from the jump when the trailer comes out, I was like, oh, this trailer's good.
Yep.
Why is he doing that? When young Clark takes the towel.
Yeah. What does that mean?
I'm like, what is he referencing?
Yeah, because when we do that, we reference Superman. He is Superman.
And he's Superman before there's an idea for Superman.
Yeah.
So what reference is he making?
Yes, exactly. And I also say that it sounds like Sal and I might have watched the same rip of the on YouTube of Generation X.
Yeah.
The fidelity of it, not the best. But when I pulled this image of Emma Frost and Banshee, it looks like part of Banshee's costume is comic book panels, which is conceptually cool. But again, what the fuck? What does that mean?
Yes, but like, what is that supposed to mean?
Yeah.
Also, for like a lot of this movie, I thought it was Ethan Hawke.
Dude. I've just been watching the Before trilogy. Fucking Ethan Hawke's so fucking good, man.
Isn't he great? But I was like, oh my god, is this like an out of work Ethan Hawke? No, okay.
No, they can't afford him, especially 1996 Ethan Hawke. No,
seriously, no.
All right,
yeah, good picture by the way. Like that was a good pull,
dude. This is like the only high quality image I could find of it, and this is my favorite part of these two. This is my favorite part of the pilot.
Easily, no, they're great. Like though because they look. Well, okay. Emma Frost looks exactly like her costume from the comic book, which is kind of mind-bending.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Disney, clean this up and put it on Disney Plus.
Dude, for real, dude. I really think we should. I think we should do that. I think the Aquaman pilot should. I have it. I bought it on iTunes or whatever back in the day.
Somebody sent me the Wonder Woman pilot starring Adrian Palacki.
Oh shit!
Like years ago, and I watched it and deleted it immediately, and I didn't know because I was like, oh well, this will probably be available again. Nope.
No, yeah, you save those artifacts. I still have never watched that failed Justice League pilot. And
it's worse than this.
Yeah, but I still want to see it.
I've seen it. I've seen it. Oh, it's a scene. I mean, it's neat to see. You're like you would not believe it. You know, you'd be like, oh my god, I'm looking at like Martian Manhunter on screen, but wasn't it Guy Gardner as Hal Jordan? Wasn't one of those? I thought it was just Guy, but yeah, it was weird.
No, when you look at it, you're like,
it's Hal in a guy costume. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. It's one of those things. Anyway, kind of like in Superman the animated series where it's Kyle Rayner,
right?
But it's Hal Jordan's origin.
Yeah. What?
Yeah. So, Matt Frewer is at the arcade. Like Jubilee sees Max Headroom's face in an arcade machine because we're going to learn she's a little bit psychic, and I am unclear. Maybe you're a little bit more clear on this, Sal.
Yeah.
Am I supposed to understand every mutant is a little bit psychic?
That sounds like what they want you to believe. It's kind of like having like a healing factor, you know?
Yeah.
Certainly, all of these characters are a little bit psychic for no reason, or like maybe they're being aided by Emma. I'm doing a lot of work for these people.
Yeah, unclear. And it's clear it's unclear for the creators because by the way, Jubilee is played by Heather McComb. She is not. Asian American. She is a white woman. And when quizzed on this, the creators were like, "Oh, it didn't specify in the script or the casting thing that it was that." And it's like, yeah. Did you not?
What?
One of the most the reason you're doing this is the
Right.
X-Men animated series, and that is the one character from that show on your show,
Yeah.
and none of. All right.
Yeah. No, I know. They just no. Awful.
Yeah. So it's if it didn't specify in the script, nobody making this knew. Or are they psychic? Who gives a shit?
Right. Like it's like no one from Marvel was there on set. Like
Nope.
there was which is very much like on brand for Marvel back then. Like
Yeah,
they were just
in
like all I
1996
care about is that it's being made.
in 1996, it's Marvel is probably like 4 guys in a room. Just how many licenses can we sell out to this shit?
Oh yeah.
Because we're
Absolutely.
hemorrhaging money.
Right. Just please, for the love of God, make us $1. Oh
Yeah.
shit. We failed again.
Yeah, for 40, like a good chunk of our 25% of our budget is going to Rob Liefeld and
Jim Lee
and
again.
and they're getting ready over Image, and it's like, oh man.
Yeah. Did you know? I've never heard of this woman before, like Heather McComb. Besides seeing her in Jubilee and being like, oh, she's pretty cute.
Yeah,
Do you know she married James Vanderbeek?
I learned that, and also trying to figure out, and also because she was in Party of Five.
Oh, that's how I wouldn't recognize her because I didn't watch that show.
Same. So anyway, she's in the Art Classic. Other than the fact that you whitewash Jubilee, her being an arcade, it's basically, I feel like that's how the 97 X-Men 90s cartoon starts, with her in arcade. Perfect.
Yep, 100%.
Weird that she's seen guys' faces in it, but whatever. And apparently we also learned that she's 15, which yeah, right.
No.
Sure.
Yep.
So we get our first peek at Emma Frost and Banshee interacting, and she literally calls him lover, which makes things a little ambiguous later on, because then they're flirting as if like sexual tension. It's like, well, okay,
but they do bang though.
Yeah, is it sexual tension, or are you all banging? What's the
right? Or she's just calling her lover, like as a kind of like, that's more flirting. Like we don't. They do have different bedrooms.
Yeah,
and Banshees has like a roaring fire in it, as I recall.
Yeah, well, listen, man, he's hot blooded,
Yeah, he's just waiting. He's just ever waiting. He's like, I live in a big old empty house.
Yeah,
with Emma Frost. I'm just waiting for her to get to lower her standards. But
exactly,
Banshee's looking good too. So I don't know.
Yeah, exactly, dude. And especially if you're like, because doing research for this, I saw Banshee from Gen X era. It's like, yeah, Banshee, get after it, man.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, he was like, this is my era.
And it's the problem because his fucking power. Actually, his powers don't suck in this, but in the comics, compared to in the spectrum of powers, his are actually kind of useful here. In the comics, it's like Banshee's like C tier, man. Like, I scream loud, oof, get out.
Yeah, no, we're not starting with you.
Yeah,
no.
Sorry. So apparently Jubilee's outburst is, dude, this actually kind of hit. It's like, if you could just transplant the scene to now, and it'd probably be more effective now. She's labeled as a mutant terrorist, and she's going to a camp to basically be brainwashed to be like, I guess, not use her ability, be less of a mutant.
Yeah.
Conversion therapy for mutants, basically.
Right. Exactly.
And Sal, do I like this sequence? I might actually like this moment where Emma Frost uses her little psychic powers to be like, we're from the FBI, to pick up Jubilee, and her and Banshee sneak in, and they're tricking the guards, and Jubilee sees through the psychic facade because, again, inexplicably, she's a little bit psychic.
Yeah. I mean, okay. I don't like it, and I'm not going to defend it.
No, we're just gonna have to roll with it. It's the decision they made, and it's to set up the dream shit, which sucks. So that's a bummer. That's just a bummer, and it chews up a lot of. Dude, we blow through so much plot.
Oh my god!
On Matt Headroom.
We just keep cutting to him in his dentist's office.
Yep.
Which is, by the way, like the way they dressed the set.
Yeah.
For this was just grab all the crap you can find that is vaguely scientific looking.
Yeah.
And just pile it on top of itself around the room. Like, we don't even have, like, it's like they're like, we need the room at the end of the weekend.
Yes.
Like, you have this guy's office for the weekend. So it's like, just, you can't like build anything. You can't like staple anything. It all just has to be on top of itself.
Yep.
And like, as you can see, like it actually does. If you look at like the lighting aesthetic, like they're also clearly inspired by Joel Schumacher. Bright colors,
Mhm.
comic book.
Yeah.
But like when they're outside of the prison, they like just use lights with gels. They're just
Dude,
like, it's green, it's purple. And you're
yeah,
like,
it's
okay.
wild because, like, in some ways, when you're at the school, and it probably helps because this is spoiler, the mansion they use here is the same one they use in the movies. But it feels like you can almost feel the pull of what comic book movies were in '96 and what they will be in 4 years.
Yes.
Because not that the stuff at the mansion, I would argue, not that it works, but
Right.
it definitely is more grounded in a way that is reflective of what will be the X-Men movies. But every scene Matt Frewer is in
Yeah.
is Joel Schumacher up the ass. Like it's
Oh,
like
big
you said, like
time.
color, like the loudest colors you can imagine.
Yeah. It also is like a miracle that you get him in the arcade scene, since every other scene is basically just shot of him alone or
Mhm.
with one other extra.
Yeah.
And it's like we have Matt Frewer for 72 hours.
Yes.
Shoot all of his scenes in one location and then get him out. And then just
Oh,
have him sit in front of a green screen and like we'll just shoot that and put it in front of the Tekken or Virtua Fighter or whatever.
for real, for real.
Ugh.
So while after they pick up Jubilee from the prison, on the way from there, they pick up Angelo. Oh, whatever. This bus stop by there, I guess. Anyway, so what we learn is that back in that flashback, Emma and Max Headroom were working on a team trying to find the dream dimension. Why is this a plot in this your X-Men introductory pilot? I can't explain that. I don't know why.
No, I don't know.
um, this is a scene where Max Headroom is chewing up all the sceneries. He has a boss that doesn't matter, but
Yeah,
except
it's like
him to exposit too.
that's right. That's right.
Yeah. And he basically says he wants a mutant brain to become God. I'm not going to explain. He thinks he'll pull out the little mutant part of a mutant's brain, and somehow that makes him God. Why? Because remember that scene in Batman Forever where Jim Carrey's like, "I'll be a god." It's that.
Yeah.
That's why.
I think it's also like, oh my god, we have the guy from Lawnmower Man.
Yes.
He uses Nebula CGI to become a god.
Yes.
Let's do that.
So here's the thing: we've got the guy that is computer guy in Max Headroom and computer guy in Lawnmower Man, and we're gonna make him a dream guy. And it's like, but there is a computer guy. His name's Arcade.
Yeah, there's oh my god, and you wouldn't have to spend as much money on like CG or even green screen. It's just a guy in a bow tie.
Yes.
That's all you need. And they're like, no, put him in loud costumes, like put him in loud suits.
Yeah.
Yes, but
and you also, by the way, you have a dream guy.
You can do the Shadow King.
Yeah.
No, I know. We'll have to wait until Legion.
And they do pretty good work with Shadow King. I like season up until literally the last minutes of the season 2 finale. And then they take a wild swerve with the character. You're like, whoa, I don't know if this show's equipped.
Yeah.
You implying your protagonist is a rapist. I don't know if this show's equipped for that.
Agreed.
Anyway,
gotta get into some young adult nudity though. Because that was probably cut, and from the show.
Oh, you're talking about Gen X, where when they take them to the mansion, you're like, we have to take a full body scan. Why is this in here?
Whip them out. Like, why is this in here? And why are they like we're like, we got to titillate? And I'm like, why?
But you said, granted, the actress is clearly not this,
right?
But she's 15. You said she's 15, and also, if you want to titillate, Emma Frost is literally right there.
Yeah, she is constantly available, but no, we got to show that, like, skin wants more skin.
Yeah. Anyway, so we meet the other kids that are already there, and these are the only students that are at this mansion. Apparently,
there are, I think, more of them than there are like main characters in Deadpool. So
yeah, fair enough. So we have Arlie, who goes by, her code name is Buff, Mondo, Kurt, and Monet. And you're like, wait, some of those like Monet and Mondo I know from the comics. Who are Arlie and Kurt, they're new characters. We'll get into that into our future segment of why they're there.
Yeah, because I don't know anything. I just was like, I don't know them. What's going on?
Kirkland Brand Cyclops, and then not Husk. Those are the two. Those are the two.
Yeah, that was disappointing. I remember being really disappointed that Husk was not in this.
Yeah. So they immediately play the weirdest game of football I've ever seen. And Mondo, I guess Angelo's arm gets caught in Mondo's arm, and it stretches him. And it's just this poor actor screaming like a maniac.
I was like, I remember being like, it hurts.
Yeah.
You're gonna be useless.
Yeah. Yes.
Can you imagine Mr. Fantastic being like, ah! Like that's nothing. There's no fun here. There's no joy.
Oh my god. Okay, so what we learn is that Arlie apparently is super strong, and they say that she has like the reason we see her is baggy clothes. She's got, I think the term they use is she's got a freaky body. Put a pin in it. We'll learn what quote unquote makes your body freaky later.
Excellent.
We learned that Monet is perfect at everything, super strong, super smart, great at everything. Mondo in this show is basically absorbing man. If he touches it, he can absorb the thing. There's no visual, other than a lighting change, there's no visual representation of that.
Yeah,
it just becomes hard as stone if he touches stone.
Yeah, that's theater of the mind in our TV show.
Yes. Yep. And Frost starts giving the students psychic training for reasons that are unclear to me.
So that they can use psychic abilities later in the movie.
Do you think they're like, yeah, every episode, because there was two versions of this. One, they were like, you know, maybe it'll go pick up a series, or maybe it'll be a series of TV movies, because that's a thing we did back in the day.
Yes.
And was it like every TV movie, like we're gonna have a big battle in the dreamscape? Was that? Do you think that was their long plan?
Oh, I hope not. I mean, like that. I mean, that does track for these for this kind of era. I think it's. I honestly, this sounds to me like just a fundamental like misunderstanding of like, you know what I mean? Like of some producer that had too much power, being like, all the mutants have psychic powers, and then just saying that, you know, like. Because back in like the 80s and 90s, when like our favorite things that had existed for at least 40 years were being adapted into like visual mediums, they were they were being, you know, hijacked or kidnapped by like older people who had like the vaguest of understandings of what it was. Like they might have like maybe remembered reading a single issue of the book and like extrapolated that one reading from when they were like 11 into a fundamental understanding of what the whole property is about. Yeah.
If you think like studio execs are out of touch now, it has always been us. It is always, and anything that you watch was like, wow, that was a good adaptation. That's a minor miracle.
It's an accident. It's a complete accident or miracle. Yeah. No, it was either like it had either a really, really powerful director or very little studio interference.
Yeah, and I do think that a lot of the stuff that we love now did come out of the slipstream of, weirdly enough, Harry Potter.
Yeah,
where this idea of
like accuracy,
it has to be absolute fidelity.
Yes,
because if we deviate at all, these people, and also the beginning of social media, because it made it a lot easier for fans to log their displeasure if you didn't do it exactly right. You know. So anyway. I guess they're all vaguely psychic.
Right.
So they're watching the news, and some guy, again, this shit's like, it just feels ahead of its time, and I guess it's not, but it just feels that way, where this guy, some douchebag on the news, is like, yeah, we need to take care of the mutant problem. For example, I think if we'd gotten ahead of AIDS, we could have. And it's like, what are you implying?
Yeah, well, I mean, they're, you know, people being born with mutations are an STD, really. And it's like, whoa.
If we just rounded up all the gay people, maybe AIDS. Whoa, time out, guy.
Oh, whoa.
Which again, that is like true to what politicians were saying, especially in the 80s and stuff like that. It's just wild to have this of all shows like acknowledge it. Like I almost be like, I feel like there's a very good chance that when the MCU, we're all excited to see the MCU tackle X-Men, but there's a very good chance it will be the least political version of X-Men we've ever seen.
I fear you're right.
Yeah. And that's not a good, Sal said that right. That's not a good, I'm not saying that it's a good thing. The X-Men are inherently political. That's why if you like the X-Men, that's one of the reasons you like them.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we learn Kurt lasers the TV with his eyes. Basically, he's got eye powers. He can see. He's all of Superman's eye powers. He's got a less stable version of those. He can see through things. He can shoot lasers.
Yep.
That sort of thing.
Yep.
His code name is Refrax, by the way. I didn't get that till later in my notes.
It sucks.
They put Angelo through. So we're introduced to like the computer lab, which is kind of Cerebro is like, if you saw an episode of the British TV show The Avengers where like a computer is blinking on the wall, it's like that sort of thing. The Batman 66, the Batcave computer, it's that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And he's supposed to be keeping track of the thing, and I guess it's a training session, and it's really boring. It's actually really
it's an opportunity to pad runtime. We just show, sit in the chair. We do a couple of whip pans, a couple of, like cuts to screens that are like just image files.
Yep.
And and we just
system B23 is
offline
or in danger. Oh no. And then I think is it Emma Frost or Jubilee that puts a gun to his head because that's the training. Like we broke in and you think, okay, what we're setting up is for the finale when the villain attacks the mansion. That's not at all. That's not.
No. I thought it was Emma, but I don't recall.
Doesn't matter. Somebody puts a gun to his head as part of the training.
Yeah.
And I put in my notes, this must be the TV version of the Danger Room, like the training you need to do. There is a Danger Room later. It is also lame.
Yeah, well, because in the comic books, they don't have the Danger Room, they have the grotto.
Yeah, because it's supposed to be a different facility.
In Boston.
Yeah.
There's Westchester, and then there's I want to say Boston, but I don't remember. But
that
it's
is crazy that they've not taken advantage of like. Yeah, we have a West Coast Avengers, but we don't have a West Coast X-Men where we open a school on the West Coast.
Right. Well, the closest thing I want to say is like Schism, but they weren't really talking, like.
Yeah.
Wolverine
it wasn't like a new branch. It's that we're fighting each other.
I know. Yeah, but we could use like satellite campuses. Like, oh man, that's a good pitch. Like the initiative. Yeah. But it's like for the X-Men, like a mutant in every state.
Yeah, for real. Like anyway, whatever. Unless they do some like major backtracking post Krakoa era, we're a little bit past that.
Yeah.
So Jubilee and Angelo are trying to learn to dream travel. Fucking goddamn.
For some reason, I mean, only because we have to. Because somebody has like a script that they used that was like for a pitch. Like I guarantee. I mean, look, there are like at least a few X-Men like shows that they've made over the last like 20 years that are not related to the X-Men at all, that are like, oh, it's a place, it's school, institution with young people and they got powers and blah blah blah. This is probably just one of them, and they were like, we were already developing something.
Yeah, but it was a spin-off of remember, what is it, the Dream Warriors Nightmare
oh yes, Nightmare on Elm Street, the Dream
Warriors, and it's a school for Dream Warriors.
Oh my god,
made it X-Men.
Dude, no, the director of Nightmare on Elm Street 2, right, made this movie. Maybe like he knew them and he's just like, I'll use the script from Dream Warriors, I'll get you paid, and then
we just slap some X-Men in here. And it's wild too, man, because we, again, for its flaws, and I, nostalgia aside, I do think the X-Men anime series has its flaws.
Yeah.
But they were smart enough, because we watched Pride of the X-Men for the show, and it was like, we're in this 20-minute cartoon, we're going to introduce all of the X-Men and all of the Brotherhood and all the concept of mutants and all the, and the 97 show knew, listen, here's the X-Men.
Right.
Who are the bad guys? Robots that hunt X-Men. That's all you need to know. You know what I mean? And so it's there, man. Just focus on, you've got a whole cast of characters here.
Yeah.
You've got the concept of mutants. That's enough.
Yeah.
You're good.
Right? No, ride along character. That's it. Yeah.
So they convinced Banshee to let them go to town by themselves, which is objectively a bad decision. I don't know why. Banshee's a little too, I get it. Emma's too uptight. Banshee's too loosey-goosey. They need chaperones.
That's why you get like a perfect balance between the two of them,
Yeah. You're right. So they're at a clothing store. They're trying on stuff, and this is where we get to see Arlie's quote unquote jacked up body. And by jacked up, I mean she's literally just jacked. She's just really buff. That's not freaky. That's not normal. That's a professional bodybuilder level. But like,
but back in '96, Heroin Chic was in.
Yeah, I guess so, because like, oh no, she's got back muscles. Oh no.
Yeah. What if a woman
Yeah.
was in any way powerful? That would really throw off what we're trying to do here.
Oh man. Yeah. So, and we learned that Kurt. I need to call. I'm going to call him Refrax because every time I say Kurt, I think,
Okay, I think of Nightcrawler too.
Yeah. Yeah. So Refrax is like into it. He's like, yeah, she's buff. Yeah. And it's
I
like,
want her to
yeah,
dominate me, and it's like, yeah, knock yourself out, man.
people are. People are into that. Like, it's not weird. Anyway.
Yeah.
Mondo gets into this weird eating contest with a jock that's sitting across from him. Like, he sees him eat something, so he eats something. Maybe they're flirting. You know what I mean?
That's exactly what it is. Yeah, that's how it feels.
And Angelo is so Angelo sees a girl he's into, and then they're like, wow, it's creepy. He's following us, and it's like, he is following me, and that is creepy. I know we're trying to teach these bitchy girls, but it is weird how he's following you.
Oh, I know. Angelo sucks. He is, when he's not screaming or crying, he is being a creep.
Angelo is a victim of is a great example of the people behind this not knowing what they're making, because Angelo is a collection of a power that is lame, a bunch of racial stereotypes,
100%,
and being a creep. And so it's like,
and an adult
guy.
Right. Like, I would even say, like, his being a creep is just he's a victim of adults, like 45-year-old men.
Yeah.
Thinking about what it was like to be a teenager, and like trying to engineer awkward scenarios for them.
Yep.
And it's like, well, I remember when, like, here's an awkward scenario for a very sympathetic protagonist, aka me, when I was in high school. You know what I mean? And then it's like, and that was creepy.
Stalked women. You know what I mean?
Right. And like, sometimes it worked, for other people, and most of the time it didn't for, like, me.
Yes. So anyway, yeah. So they get in there. The jock boyfriend, one of these girls, the jock, right? That one of these girls is into, invites him over, and he shoves his face into a banana split. Oh man.
Yes, because this is 1956. I mean, 96.
Yes, yes. Yep. So, dude, how many growing up, like, this must be what high school is like, and what you're reading is an experience from the 50s.
Yes.
Like, high school hasn't been like this for decades.
Right. Yeah, no. The same amount of time that Back to the Future went back is what it is now. So, like,
remember, I think it was the most recent Jurassic World. Yeah, it was, because that was the one where that was another one with too many offers. The dinosaurs are out in the world, but also there's these locusts. It's like, time out. Stop with the dinosaurs are out in the world. What are you doing?
Yeah.
But the teaser for that was a bunch of kids at a drive-through, and then it's like, we're not even. It's not even Colin Trevorrow's nostalgia.
No,
he is responding to Steven Spielberg's nostalgia.
That's exactly
so right. We're now in like 50 years plus of nostalgia back into no drive-through is packed with teenagers now. That's not how things work.
Right.
Maybe during the pandemic. No, not even then.
No.
They have smartphones. Lost track. So Angelo is hacking.
Oh, he goes to the computer. Yeah.
Yeah, he's hacking. He's trying to. He finds Emma. He finds Emma's dream machine on the same set that we had the dream machine originally. Apparently, we couldn't move that prop. Meanwhile, there's a pitch meeting with Max Headroom. He says he has a degree in theoretical physics, which doesn't track with what he's working on.
Not at all.
That's not. I don't think that's physics related, but whatever.
Nope. He's just made to say things they make up.
Yep. So we find out that his character Trash invaded the dreams of all the board, and he makes them all fart at a certain time. Sal, I would be lying if I didn't say I didn't find some enjoyment in this.
Yeah. Scene. There is some delight. I mean, it's farts, so it's going to be hilarious.
Yeah.
It's just it's also like, okay, so this is. I mean, like, I knew this is kind of what we were in for, but I didn't know we were going to pass like that threshold.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, I can't stress it enough. You just say that he is an engineer. He's a computer designer, and he is working with this company where he's doing subliminal messaging, and he's got grand designs. And so it comes to him and says, hey, Do you want to help us kill or trap mutants?
Right.
And it's Arcade. And maybe in this version, Arcade builds the Sentinels. I know Sentinels are a little ambitious for this show.
It is. Yeah, they'd have to be like virtual Sentinels or something.
Yes.
Or
they're Dream Sentinels.
Or they're like we have these headbands they have that like regular people or our security forces wear.
Yeah.
And it like creates a purple armor over them that like is animated, and we call them Sentinel. Like,
yeah, sure, man. Whatever. But point is, he should be Arcade. I'm gonna keep beating this drum throughout the episode. Turns out, so here's we get a danger room, and it's just basically a rec room. There's like a wall climb, there's a rock climb, and stuff like that.
Yeah,
it's more than we ever got in the movies. So
big time. That's true. True. Yeah. Yeah. Did they call? I think they might have called it the grotto in this, or at least the danger grotto. But
I missed it. They might have.
I remember being like surprised by when it's accurate and when it isn't.
And you're like, DJ, wait, why are you cutting back from the grotto to the boardroom meeting? That's the way it was edited. Sorry, everybody. But it turns out this one's a dream because and this actually tracks because at the beginning of the scene, the boardroom like, this seems unethical. And I'm like, said nobody in any boardroom ever.
Exactly. We have to have that.
Yeah, but it turns out it is a dream, and it's for his boss. And Max Headroom uses the dream to make his boss jump out a window. You're like, wait, just like Batman Forever? I'm like, yes, just like Batman Forever.
And it looks a lot like Batman Forever. Like, they just went, just do the scene from here.
It just doesn't have that cool ass gothic waterfall with the giant like fucking Lord of the Rings statues. Yeah,
yeah, it's true.
Oh man, it is when you see stuff like this. Like again, it's easy to trash on Joel Schumacher's Batman movies. Just like it's easy to like trash on somebody like Michael Bay, but then you see somebody emulating that, and you're like, oh, there is something here. This is a skill. To do this is a skill. You can't just do it. Especially not a TV budget.
No.
So Angelo and Jubilee enter the Dream Machine. Jubilee goes first because again, we've established that for some reason she's kind of psychic. Help me out with this, Sal. Is this scene her dad talking to a picture of her mom, and the picture of the mom is talking back?
That's correct. Yes. So the mom is dead, and the dad is dreaming of her, or is he literally doing that?
Well, this is also weird because we see the mom earlier, but not the dad. They specifically explain why the dad's not there. Anyway, I give credit to this because this is slightly too trippy for this pilot, and I think this is the Twin Peaks effect, where it's like, maybe 100% away with this shit now.
Yeah, they're like, Twin Peaks was like a TV movie. Like, we could do that. Yeah, no, it's I don't know.
It's so funny. It is so funny now where it's just like, if you're making a superhero movie, you're just making a superhero. You're like, oh, like Iron Man or Batman or whatever. You're like, it's like Dream Warriors, but like Twin Peaks, but like, you know what I mean? Like you're having to get, what is a superhero TV show? What is that?
Right. I don't know. We're in unfettered, we're in fertile ground here. Yeah. We can make whatever we want. We have to, we're creating a genre, and those genres are vaguely psychic mutants with like fire with plasmoid abilities. Goes into the dream world to augment those powers and ends up visiting her dad, who may or may not be dreaming or conscious. Maybe she's like astral projecting into the room.
It is unclear. Are we entering somebody else's dreams, or are we in our own
dreams? That's fair. Yeah. Oh my God.
And I feel pretty confident in saying, like, you and I watch this and we're like, so this is astral plane Shadow King shit. Nobody in making the show would know what the fuck we're talking about. So this is accidental. This is accidental.
Yeah, if we have any context for what's happening, it's because we know it and they don't. Yeah. They're just stumbling on it by accident.
This isn't Legion where you're like, wait, are we setting up Shadow King? And the answer is actually they are setting up the Shadow King. That's what they're doing. This isn't that. That's not the era we're in.
No. They if they had another bite at the apple, they might have been able to retcon it.
Yes.
And be like, no, it's the Shadow King. Yeah. But no, they did not know what they were doing back then.
So Max Headroom shows up in the dream with Jubilee, freaks her out. She comes out and she's like, Angelo, dude, that was messed up. Don't do it. And Angelo's like, I'm going to do it. And so he gets in there and he dreams about the girl from earlier. Again, kind of creepy if the implication is he's in her dream, which I think that's what we're supposed to understand.
Yes, that's
right. Matt Frewer finds him, makes him an offer he totally can refuse. It's basically like, I don't even remember what it was, but it's basically if you help me somehow, I'll get you with this girl, which is
Yeah.
creepy.
Yeah, that's right.
And Angelo does it because he sucks, unfortunately. But as he's about like as he's introducing the dream girl, the cops show up at Frewer's real world location, yank the thing off him. He gets lost. This is something we sort of established earlier. He gets lost in the dream realm. Then Angelo uses his powers, which shouldn't matter because we're in a dream.
Yes.
To pull Matt Frewer back, except he doesn't. He's still not back in his body.
No.
He's just not floating around. Yeah.
Yes. Like, well, there is some kind of like a mind entropy that one can enter that they don't discuss or establish or give any rules for.
Yes.
We just see that, like, essentially, Max Headroom owes Skin a favor. But even then, he doesn't, like, really reciprocate.
No, he doesn't, because he's going to end up asking Skin for more help.
Yeah.
Anyway. Okay, so this is where we get this fucking blew my mind. So we get a scene where Jubilee and Angelo are talking later, and he's like, Angelo's like, I want to go back in, and Jubilee says, "Are you fucking nuts?" And I'm like, whoa!
Yeah, I was like, what the hell? Whoa. We're dropping F-bombs. Like, it's not even like we're towing the line here. No, just boom.
Well, because there's another line earlier when Emma's talking about teaching them mind, whatever. And she's like, I need you to relax but concentrate. I actually kind of like this line. She's like, I need you to relax but concentrate. And Refrax is like, well, how can you relax and concentrate? And she's like, just imagine you're playing with yourself. And I'm like, that's actually pretty good. That actually works. That line.
She would know.
Yeah, exactly. That line. So this line, obviously, but also that line we're not in the US versions.
Hell no.
They were in the UK versions, which is what we're watched, apparently.
Right. The UK version's filmed in Canada.
Yes, exactly. I think in what I read is in the American version, she says, "Imagine you're on the toilet," which is not as good a line as "Imagine you're playing with yourself."
But it is a more American line.
Yeah, it is we changed it, so now it kind of doesn't make sense as a reference.
Yeah, but it is stupid.
Okay, so at this point in my notes, because I didn't know he was named Refrax and I refused to keep calling him Kurt, I started referring to him as Glasses.
That's also cool. I would have called him Oakley's.
Oakley's, yeah. So Oakley's flirts with Arlie in the car and invites her to this carnival that he says is supposedly totally kosher.
Carnival.
Totally kosher, Sal.
I know.
Yeah.
Whatever that means. They're just like, we're just making up stuff.
Yeah, you know how kids talk, Yeah.
Let's go to the carnival.
Yeah, exactly.
Like kids do.
Yeah, 90s kids love the carnival. We'll go to the circus next.
Surrounded by clowns.
So Max Headroom is in a mental asylum, and he's still separated from his conscience. At this point, I know my notes. This pilot is covering like this should be the introduction to like episode 4.
Right.
Like he's catatonic. How are we going to build to our season finale? He's catatonic. Like covering so much ground with Matt Frewer.
He's the star. He is straight up the star of this movie.
God damn it.
He's also the biggest name in the movie.
Yeah, he is. Which even in 1996 is kind of a bummer. It's kind of like, that's your biggest star. I mean, he's great. I love him. I just, is he putting butts in the seats? I'm not sure.
No, not the right butts, not the butts they want.
Yep. So everybody goes to the carnival. Angelo sees his dream girl. They decide, she's like, I'm sorry if my friends were mean to you. You want to go for a walk? And he's like, yeah. So he's like, okay, well, let's walk where my friends can't see us.
Right. Fair. Also, can I just point out that this carnival is like the most Are You Afraid of the Dark set in this movie? It's like they borrowed, like they went to the Are You Afraid of the Dark
and
set.
I can guarantee you Art Afraid of the Dark was probably filmed in Canada too. I don't even need to look
it
up. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no. If listen with your fine-tuned
use your adult ears to listen to Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Yeah, listen to the character actors who are just like, oh no, Zebo, what's that all about? And I'm like,
Yep,
I'm just an old American boy, eh?
Yeah,
Not even.
Oh my god. So Arlie and Glasses are making out in
a car.
I guess the car they drove there in. Do they have a car? Whatever.
They're in a set car that's cut in half.
Yeah. And I was very, very. So she says, like, can you take your glasses off? I feel like I'm kissing Quentin Tarantino. Very 1996 line. And then Glasses, like, they're making out, and then he like freezes up and then he bails, to the point where I'm like, am I supposed to understand Matt Frewer is in his brain now? Like, what's happening?
I don't know. I just thought he was like intimidated. Like he's a lot of talk, but he can't walk the walk. You know, it's like, oh
Listen,
shit.
we've all known people like that. What
Yeah.
we find out is that I guess his X-ray vision kicked in and he saw her thigh. And he hears, and the implication is, because he's telling Mondo this, but the girl's over here, that he saw her freaky muscular body, and that freaked him out. And so Arlie's mad. Well, we'll find out later. No, I'm going to save it because the way they reveal this is insane.
Yeah.
So Angela and the dream girl run into the jocks anyway, despite it trying to walk where they're not. You know, the jock does a lot of stuff that is, I believe, is very true of the time. But, you know, starts calling them retards, starts using the Hispanic accent, and it's like, this is, you know, this guy's an asshole. This guy's
a jerk. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So Mondo and Glasses jump in. There's a big fight. Emma shows up and bails them all out of prison or jail. And back at the school, she expels Mondo because she knew that one of the guys punched Mondo, who picked up a stone at the beginning, and there's a blue light on him, which shows, oh, he's hard skinned now. And the guy broke his hand, so she's like, he used his powers, you're expelled. And they all have an I am Spartacus moment where they're like, actually, I was in the fight and used my powers. Actually, I was in the fight and used my powers. She's like, okay, I can't expel everybody, so Mondo's safe.
Right, especially because I only have 6 students or whatever.
Exactly. And before Banshee asks the kids to leave so the mom and dad can talk, and he's like, and he says something interesting. And again, there's moments like this where it's like, fuck, you guys are closer than you think to having something here, because he's like, hey, you can't blame yourself with what happened to the Hellions. And I'm like, what happened to the Hellions? I want to know.
Yeah, they're definitely like, they're like, all right. And you could feel like, I heard that they actually got consultation from, unfortunately, like one of the worst like writers of all time, but that like Scott Lobdell like actually like helped them out with this a little bit, and I can imagine that's 100% a Lobdell line, and it's just like the producers I have no idea what she said, and we have no intention of ever showing you what that means.
But if it seeds extra episodes, hey, let's do it.
Exactly.
It's so funny too. I'll save this thought for later. Angelo is back in the dreams, and he sneaks into the dream girl's place. This is kind of creepy when you think about it. And they dance in this weird tropical location.
Yeah.
Max Headroom shows up, invading the dreams. And as they're talking, Angelo lets slip that he knows Emma Frost, who we've established Matt Perez has a previous relationship with from working. He was doing brain surgery. And he says he wants Angelo's help to get his body back. Listen, no big deal. It's in a minimum security location. And Angelo's like, time out. Minimum security? Why? Any security?
Yeah, which is a fair question to ask. It's like the most discerning Angelo is in this entire movie.
Yep. It's the one moment where like, oh, maybe Angelo does have something good. Look, 2 electrons in his brain sparking off.
Yeah.
So things get a little heavy. Max Headroom threatens the dream girl, and I didn't quite hear this line, but he threatens to mind rape Angelo's sister, which was the girl from earlier that was torturing Angelo.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man.
Yeah, no,
Angelo's like,
this is an edgy movie. You know, this actually takes more risks than most X-Men movies.
We're dropping F-bombs, we're throwing out rape threats. Like, oh man.
Right? Jubilee called Oakley's an asshole in this children's TV show.
Yeah, wild. So Angelo saves Matt from gear that he got from somewhere. Like he has a whole like kit.
Yeah, I maybe it's left over because Emma Frost like took it because she worked there or something. But like, I remember like at this point going like when he's like, we got to get me my brain back in my body. I was like, wasn't like 40 minutes ago he was like goofing around in oversized clothes? Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah. And also like, why this whole plot of getting him back? Why?
Right? Like,
guys,
what are we doing?
So much like time, page space by just having be dream god guy. Anyway.
Yeah.
So he saves him, and also this again, if this were like a show, this could have been a whole episode of Angelo saving Matt from the fucking place.
Yeah.
But like, and again, I can't stress this enough. They're in the real world. They're escaping the asylum. Matt Frewer, Max Headroom, doesn't have powers. Angelo does.
Yes.
But Max Headroom grabs him. He's like, actually, I want your brain. Cut to Angelo, like bound up, and it's like, dude, you have.
Yeah, you just punch him, but it would hurt a lot. It's like every time that Angelo uses his power, it's like, oh, what a boy. Maybe just send him back.
Maybe we just cut our losses with Angelo. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Angelo's all tied up, and this is one of the nonsense. I had to write this line down. Max Headroom's like, sleep tight, little chipmunk, store nuts in your cheeks. And it's like, what the fuck?
That's just, I'll give him, how about one from me? Here's a line that I got.
Listen, you want crazy? I'll give you crazy. You want to get nuts?
Put them in your cheeks.
So Angelo remembers Emma's lesson from earlier, relax, but concentrate. And he reaches out to Jubilee through the dreamscape. And she wakes up. And this is where we finally start calling Angelo Skin out of nowhere. No context for it. Fortunately, I know from the comics that is his code name, so I know who she's talking about.
Right, exactly. I feel like this is like this is their Star Wars moment. Like,
yeah.
Where you're watching Star Wars and you're kind of like when Luke reaches out to Leia and Leia hears Luke in Empire, you're kind of like, oh, is that a thing we could do? I didn't know. And they're like, listen, people loved that when it happened in Star Wars.
Yeah.
That was only like a couple years ago
Mm-hmm.
for these people who are making this movie. And so they're just like, yeah, no, like all the mutants are vaguely psychic.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really? Did we establish that? Well, we'll put it in the movie.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. Don't worry about it. Don't you worry your pretty little lot about it.
Yeah.
Emma says, I should have destroyed that machine. It's like, yeah, no shit. Why'd you even?
Yeah, why do you even have it?
So they're in their big mission brief. Emma's like, here's the deal. Your guys, I'm going to, and this is nonsense. It doesn't matter. I didn't write it down. But she's like, I'm going to pull his entire lab into the dreamscape. Whatever the fuck that means. Okay. And you guys are going to go in there and you're going to get Angelo out. And Oakley's is like, time out real quick. I got to say something. Arlie, remember earlier when I saw your thigh and I freaked out? I still was chaste and I didn't look at your vahoo. I didn't look at your vagina. I was whatever. And that's what all this misunderstanding was. And it's like, cool, I guess. Can we get back to the life or death thing we're doing?
Yeah, you could say that to her on the way to the mission. But in the meantime,
oh my God. And that's the whole thing. He freaked out because he saw her. Dude, I don't want to be too forward, but you were like making out in the car. Like,
you were going to see it anyway.
Yeah, man. Anyway, whatever, man. Sure.
Yeah.
So they all go to the dream realm. And
for a doorway.
Whatever. It doesn't matter. Yeah, they go through whatever. It's a portal. Who gives a fuck?
Right.
Matt Frewer's all goofs with Angelo. He's like, I want to cut your hair or whatever. He's all goofs for most of this fight.
Yeah.
Gen X shows up to fight Max Headroom in the dream realm. It's the dream. You have the power of dreams. Their powers literally don't matter. It's dreams. Right. You can have any powers. Whatever.
Yeah.
He almost at the beginning he does basically nothing to fight back. He just gets thrown around a bunch.
Yep. And he like shows you how long his tongue is. Like that's kind of.
I mean, it's not a bad. It's a pretty long tongue. I was kind of impressed. I was like, well, there you go.
Yeah.
I'm happy for your wife. Or husband. I don't know, Matt.
I don't know his persuasion.
But, anyway, so they're throwing him around. He does eventually try to fight back. He almost throws M into a furnace. That's right. Remember M? She's in this pilot.
Yep. I don't remember her doing anything, but yes, here she is.
Yeah, he says some weird shit about music, like let me put on Barry White, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's creepy. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Banshee uses his scream to blast him through a wall, but he comes back all giant because it's a realm of dreams. Everybody.
Yeah, remember? Like, but and I'm like, she pulled the lab into the dream world, so was the whole fight in the dream. But like, Angelo was really strapped to the thing, so that physically happened. But
yeah, because they take Angelo and pull him back through the. God damn.
Right. Like, so, yeah, but he's big now in the wall. All right.
Anyway, all seems lost because Matt Frewer's giant now. And we learned that apparently he's been mutating this whole time. Whatever. Emma is talking about sacrificing herself, but Angelo wraps up Max Headroom and drops him off into the abyss. But then Angelo pulls himself back with his stretchy powers, and they all escape together. And with the kids playing some sort of card game that I don't know if it's a real one. It feels vaguely X-Men inspired, which again is weird.
Right?
given the context. But then,
Yeah, I want to say it's like on sale now.
yeah, exactly. And then, like out of nowhere, like they're just playing this game, and then Emma Frost and Banshee show up, like, "Hey kids, shut the fuck up! Stop what you're doing. You want to see your new school uniforms?" Boom.
You look like action figures. Oh,
Eh, well, Sal, I have some happy things to tell you about in the action figure front because that definitely, shocker of shockers, that was a consideration.
oh, no question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there you go, kids. Up on the screen is the costume, which is I mean, it's the costume of the I actually don't hate it. I would have watched a show with this shit.
I
But
mean, they have X-Men logos, they have costumes, like, that's cool
yeah.
in its own way back then.
Yeah.
I
And
would've watched it.
I would watch it, man. And then, especially considering our limited options at the time, I would have eaten that shit up.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
So, and Max Headroom's back in a mental institution, and then when they close in on his eye, it's like the dreamscape, which I don't know. Is he coming back? Is he not coming back? What are you implying with that?
I mean, yeah, if he wants to come back, I'm sure they'd be happy. They'd be lucky to have him.
They'd be
And that's
lucky
kind of what they did. They set
you
that up
have
like it.
him. Oh my god. All right. So now for our next segment, which is X Factor. This is where we give some behind the scenes. So what was going on here?
I can't wait to find out because I don't know. I was just like, I don't know what this is. Like,
Yeah. Unfortunately, I couldn't find a bunch, but I was able to find a little bit.
Okay.
The film was planned to air during sweeps, as Fox was confident it would make a strong impact. Oops. And had a budget of $4 million. Producer Eric Blankley hoped it would lead to further Generation X TV movies or a full series. New World Enterprises kept strong security over the script.
That
Maybe,
was not a problem.
yeah, maybe a little less. Maybe if somebody would have been like, "Hey, what's up with this dream shit?" And was not allowed to be viewed. It was not allowed to be viewed by the press. Budgetary reasons meant direct translation of the comic was impossible. The most notable casualties were characters Chamber and Husk. For those not familiar, Husk is able to like tear off her skin, and she could be metal underneath, or she could be whatever. The tearing of the skin thing was yeah.
It's also grotesque, so it's like it's hard to like achieve in a TV movie.
Yeah, and then Husk. I'm even like, I know the basics of Husk, but I haven't read enough Husk comics to be like an expert. But basically, he's a psionic being, and his psionic powers blew out his chest.
Yes.
And so there's just a big fireball where his lower torso should be.
Yeah, no, you're never going to look like, you're never going to achieve that look.
And I just always, Husk looks cool. But
Chamber, yes.
Chamber, sorry, is it Husk? Chamber. Chamber looks cool. Chamber with the blowing off of his
chest.
That's the character that blew off his chest.
Yep, that's just a Chris Botchalo design. You know it. He was
and it looks
cool,
but it's also confusing. It's always been confusing me. So it's like, wait, so he's a psychic body, but it looks like fire.
Yeah,
but it's okay.
That way he can talk because like he can't. It's his bottom half of his whole body.
Yeah. Anyway, so they're not doing Chamber and Husk. Long story short. So they reach out to Generation X writer Scott Lobdell. Every Scott Lobdell fans out there.
Yeah, both
to create 2 new characters, which were Refrax, Kurt Pistorius, he's Oakley's, and Buff, who's Arlie, who's Buff. Buff would have worked. And again, the point, that's a great budget thing. So like her body's under the baggy clothes. Whoa. Like if it was more like Beast's physicality, where it's like, no, her body it's different. It's not just she's really fit. Like that's actually
she just looks like she takes care of herself a lot.
Yeah. All right.
Like,
and they suggested that if they proved popular, these 2 new characters, they might be added to the comic itself or are featured in Toy Biz's X-Men action figure line.
Oh my god. Yeah, that's like a no-brainer because they were always making new ones.
Yeah. And spoiler alert, everybody, they did not end up in the action figure line.
What a shame.
Or in the comics. Because I can't also stress this enough. Buff just looks like Husk.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, she just looks exactly like Husk.
No.
Awesome.
Anyway, other changes were made to the characters in the development film. Jubilee, for example, was not portrayed by a character of Asian descent, despite comics. The film was shot in British Columbia over the course of 24 days. The mansion used for the Xavier Institute is Hatley Castle, which was also used as the Xavier Mansion in X2, At Last Stand, Days of Future Past, Deadpool, Apocalypse, and Deadpool 2. It's also the Luthor Mansion from Smallville. Of course it is.
Oh, that's awesome.
Dude, the second I saw it, I'm like, wait, is that Lex Luthor's mansion? Of course it is.
Right.
Just before the release, the TV special was tested, or was testing the waters for a series of TV movies instead of a TV series. Generation X was broadcast on Fox as part of the Fox Tuesday Night at the Movies on February 20th, 1996. The movie tied for 72nd out of 108 Nielsen rated programs.
Oh my God.
Oof.
That sucks. That sucks on toast.
Yeah, so that's some of your behind the scenes stuff. Next segment is New Mutants. What, if anything, can be salvaged from this for what the MCU version of the X-Men? And what I was going to say for later that I'll say now is it's wild how hard it seems to be to make an X-Men show. Because
Yes.
even during the height, like what was the so it was Legion, and then there was one on Fox that had like Blink and Warpath, and I can't even remember the name of it.
I don't remember either. I don't remember. Yeah.
It was X Force, X Factor. Pick one of your. I'm gonna have to look it up.
Yeah, yeah.
Why is that, Sal? Why is it? Why?
Because they always. I think Gifted. Was it the Gifted?
It was the Gifted. Why not call it X something?
I don't know. I mean, like, there is a phenomenon that is ever present, especially in adaptive works, particularly in the comic book realm, in TV and movies, which is to put your thumbprint on it. Like, they're like, I need to make sure that, like, that that's mine.
Yeah.
And like John Peters' infamous declaration that, like, I don't want to see that cape in that Superman movie.
Yeah.
I don't want to see that suit. And it's like, well, then you're not making a Superman movie. Just don't do that.
Yeah.
And it's like, but I want to put my spin on it. Like, I want people to see this movie and go, why is it so drastically different from the thing I know? It's because of that person, and they're a genius.
Yes.
It's like that second sentence is never coming.
Nope.
But like with the Gifted, they're like, you'll know it's X-Men because it's a school for gifted youngsters. Like, it's just so many leaps. And it's just because I want it to be different because I said it's different. Like, because I made it different.
Because could you imagine, was it the Peter David run where in X Factor where it's like a detective agency kind of like with multiple men? Could you imagine? I'm sure Nathan Fillion was already headlining a show. He was probably doing like, what is a Castle or whatever
Probably.
by the time The Gifted came out. But it's like, could you imagine Nathan Fillion as a multiple man in X Factor where they're just mutant detective? Like what?
Yep.
You've got so many runs.
Yes.
Like the instinct here is correct. They're like, we want to make an X-Men show, but we don't want to do mainline X-Men show because we don't budget and all that stuff.
Yeah. So
we looked at one of our half dozen X lines.
Yeah.
And we're like, the safest bet is Generation X. They fucked it up, but like that's a good instinct.
It's a completely good instinct, especially because at that time, like, Generation X was a property. It was known. It was established. It was embraced by the audience that they were trying to get to buy their shit. Like, it makes sense. And they, like, used all the iconography that they could spare based on the budget and the creative limitations. It's funny. You look at this movie and it's like, this was the budget was not the problem.
Yeah.
The problem was the creative limitations you had on it.
Yes.
Like, the people involved. Because, like, if you were to get 1996 Kevin Feige, right, who was a producer or would be a producer on, like, Spider-Man and X-Men and stuff like that, like, he knew these properties and he knew what not to do. If you gave it to a hungry, new, young producer who knows this universe and said, I'm going to give you $4 million to make a 90-minute Generation X movie.
Yeah.
You're going to get a 90-minute Generation X movie, and it's going to be tight.
Yeah.
Not so.
Or even,
this is a veteran show. This is like a show made by people who made shows.
Yep. 100. Well, just look at the director's track record past, like the Mortal Kombat show, the Tremors show.
Right.
It would be surprised me if he directed episodes of the Highlander show.
Exactly.
And obviously, I understand that Joss Whedon is in director jail now. And I have no quibbles with that. But this is a year out from Buffy. If you got a young Joss Whedon doing your Generation X show, you got a winner. Like, that show's going to go 7 seasons. You know what I mean?
I wouldn't be surprised if Whedon actually ghost wrote, like, one of the versions of the script.
Yeah.
Because, like, Whedon knows how to, like, juggle a cast of characters with powers, put female, like, empowerment at the fore. You know, like, he knows all the boxes to check and the formula to execute. it's a no-brainer in today's world. In hindsight, Generation X is like a duh. You could do it again. You could easily make like 2025's Generation X on Disney Plus.
So for this segment, that's what I think. I think honestly, like that's, obviously we know the X-Men brand it's the same reason why we're not going to get a Spider-Man show. Spider-Man sells movie tickets. It puts butts in seats. You know what I mean? And that's more valuable, right? Same with X-Men. That said, make your X-Men movie, make your Wolverine movies, but then have your Generation X. Yeah. And I would use for some reason we've left that branding, maybe because the confusion with the actual Generation X.
Yeah.
I like that branding better than the New Mutants branding personally.
Me too. Yeah.
And so you make your Generation X show that is your CW teen soap opera show that's in the same, maybe Storm or Wolverine shows up for an episode, or maybe Banshee and Emma Frost show up in the movies, but it's its own siloed off. And truly, you could do, dude, the X-Men brand is so big, you could have a Generation X Disney Plus show and an X Factor TV show and not even touch the movies.
Yeah. No, it's true.
Yeah.
I think that if anything's going to kick, I mean, like, Jubilee is a fun ride-along character. She is a great like introduction to the series. I think that also because the animated series, like Marvel Studios is probably going to be like, this is heavily influenced by Batman Forever.
Yeah.
I think that X-Men in the MCU is going to be heavily influenced by the X-Men animated series from '96.
What makes you think that? Just because they're bringing it back, and every time we see them, it's a reference to that, and
and the fact that like the first time we ever got an X-Man on screen in the MCU in some regard, they played the X-Men animated series theme.
Yeah, and it was Professor X in the wheelchair,
in the yellow chair.
And then when we saw Beast later, he's wearing the lab coat, and he looks exactly like, even though it's Kelsey Grammer's voice, he looks exactly like
the animated series version.
Yeah,
that's right.
Wild. Yeah. Oh, by the way, worth mentioning, because I vaguely remember this. When they say the Toy Biz toy line, there literally was, and this is wild to think about now, but there literally was a branded Generation X toy line.
Yeah.
That's how
they had less articulation. I remember like Jubilee, and I remember Skin and Husk and Emma Frost. Like they were not.
I'm looking at Chambers in here. The Protector, everybody's favorites.
I love the Protector.
The Protector. And anyway, but yeah, so I think, and I actually think using Jubilee is a great. I have a feeling with the way we're positioning Miss Marvel. Now in hindsight, it's weird that we're doing this. Yeah, she's going to be the Jubilee, but I do think Jubilee would be a great. You see her in the movies, but she's also the leader of our Generation X show.
I think she won't. I think that Ms. Marvel's going to be their Spider-Man. Like, I think they're going to be like, no, we're going to use her as the Marvel ambassador, and we'll create another Ms. Marvel, and it'll either be the original Jubilee, Kitty Pryde, or it'll be Jubilee again. And I don't know which one they'll do.
As much as I love Kitty Pryde, it would be cool to have, and we've had a bunch of live action Jubilees after this.
Yeah.
But not really. You know what I mean? Like, not like
it's the most accurate. It's so frustrating. Like, she's the most accurate Jubilee outside of like that one awesome shot from X-Men 1 of Jubilee in the classroom.
Yeah.
But the power of Jubilee, like her actually shooting the fireworks, looks great in this terrible movie thing.
But yeah, in having her in X-Men, and maybe she could be Wolverine's sidekick in the Wolverine movie. Yes. Like you could, because you can cast a younger actress that you're able to put in multiple things. And but yeah, I hope, I don't know at this point, I have no clue when we're getting X-Men stuff. Was it you who told me that you think that like Secret Wars will be the convergence between the MCU and the Fox X franchise?
Yep. I think that like for them, the complement to the MCU is the Fox universe.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Because it is the only one with like it's the one that goes on for like a decade or more with like an interconnected bunch of movies. Like they have an expansive cast of characters. The problem is they just kept recasting them and like making it weird. Like, is Havoc dead or alive?
For real. And then I have to wait till post Secret Wars for like MCU X-Men, like a new Wolverine, a new whatever.
I know.
By the time post Secret Wars, nobody's going to give a shit anymore.
I know. No, it's like they should have. Well, and then of course everyone is just jumping off like their chairs to tell you like apparently they're not allowed to like the original contracts run until 2025. So technically, if they want to like put Beast in a movie, it
Yeah.
has to be either Kelsey Grammer or Nicholas Hoult. Like it can't be a new Beast because the contracts
Oh,
for
I
the
have
original
heard
Fox
that.
right, like if you put Wolverine on screen in a film, it has to be the one who's contracted until 2025, which is Hugh Jackman. Like, so that's why we haven't seen any new X-Men. It's part of the reason why Ralph Bohner was Quicksilver. Is not
Mhm.
just because it was an awesome reference that could have been way better.
Yeah.
It's that they were like, we literally can't cast another Quicksilver.
You know, that tracks. That tracks. I'll
Doesn't that
allow it.
track?
I do. I
I
do
haven't
think that,
seen any. I've never seen that contract. I'm just
yeah,
saying, like that sounds like some bullshit that
that
I
sounds like some
completely
shit
buy.
we've been through before. We're familiar
Yes,
with these shenanigans. Why doesn't Hulk get a standalone movie? Well, because technically, that's a Universal movie. If he can show up in Thor and Avengers, but if he gets a standalone movie, that's a Universal movie.
100%.
Anyway, well, shit. I think then my advice would be like, hey, listen, man. Maybe then let's put out Thunderbolts because I guess that's already filming. Let's put out the new
Yeah,
Captain America movie and let's just wait it out until Secret Wars and then fucking let's start over.
yeah,
Give people a breath, you know?
right, right.
Because then if you start a new MCU with Fantastic Four and X-Men and the new Avengers, people will show up again.
100%.
Yeah.
Yep, they will. They will.
Yeah. Well, anyway, we'll see. We'll see how that turns out. Now, this doesn't matter because Generation X is not a canon event. So
No.
this isn't going to be part of our what there's actually a segment, boys and girls, called Generation X.
Hey.
But for the sake of the show, of the argument, just for this episode,
Yeah.
where does Generation X stack into your rankings of what we've seen so far,
Yeah.
which is up to Deadpool?
Right. I think I'd rather watch this. No, this is really bad. This
Yeah.
is the worst thing. It's got to be at the bottom of the barrel.
Dude, my instinct was like, should I even include this segment because it's got to be the worst thing? And then I remembered X-Men Origins Wolverine.
I know the Wolverine thing. The Wolverine factor is a problem.
Yeah.
I would not rather watch X-Men Origins Wolverine, but I also can't tell you how horrible this movie. Like I can't sit down. If someone was like, "Hey, you're going to have to spend 2 hours. It's going to have to be either watching this movie or this movie." It's like I don't know which one
Okay.
I'd rather watch. I
Okay.
think
So
this one's shorter, so maybe this one, but
yeah. So there's some caveats here for me because I do think I was like, so it's probably X-Men Origins and Last Stand, and then but I had to pause on Last Stand. It's like you know what? Honestly, I'd probably rather watch Last Stand than this.
yeah.
I will say this: if you could get me a better transfer of this, better than the one I watched of this
Absolutely.
pilot,
I
I
watched
would
it again.
watch this over X-Men Origins Wolverine. I would. I
Totally.
just would. And part of it is nostalgia factor because I do remember watching this as a kid
Yes.
and like
Yes.
that artifact nature of it.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I'd watch this over X-Men Origins Wolverine for
Yeah.
fun.
Yes. All right. There we go. We don't need to do the rest. It literally is like, what's worse,
It's
this or X-Men Origins
Just
Wolverine?
shunt the other ones, and it's like, no, X-Men Origins Wolverine is technically not or is worse than Generation X.
Yeah.
Somehow.
You do make a good argument because you got Hugh Jackman's Wolverine.
Right?
So it's hard to, but it is real bad. It's
Real bad, and it's like so. What's worse is that you have Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, who's so great, and
Yeah.
then but he's in this thing that like sucks so much.
All right, that's it. Sal, let the kids know where they can find you.
Swing by youtube.com/comic pop or comic pop returns and check out me and my friends making the yucks with comic books.
Check it out. There will be links in the description. You can find me at DJ Talks Trash. This show, Mutant Academy, this is a special holiday episode, but normally it airs every third Wednesday. As far as the main continuity, we just finished Deadpool. I believe the next one in the docket is Apocalypse. Maybe that's why I put this in there, just to push off Apocalypse a little bit, push off the apocalypse, So that should be in the new year. That should be the next one we do. Also, if you like Sal and I talking about X-Men, you can check out at patreon.com/onlystupidanswers, where we do Spider-Versity, where we're talking about Spider-Man stuff. We've done all the movies so far, except for Across the Spider-Verse. That'll be next year. And then we've done Spider-Man the animated series, and we're almost done with the Spectacular Spider-Man. So you can find all that and more at patreon.com/onlystupidanswers. And we'll see you all next time. Bye, everybody.